Currently, after much contemplation, I have deduced an approximate grand total of 22 correct answers to the question, what is the meaning of life? There may be more, but it is a good start to find answers that would be applicable and satisfactory to every person who would ask the question themselves. So before I show off and give you the list, I would like you to pause the video for a moment and leave your best answer to the question, what is the meaning of life, in the comment section below. Or you could just wait until after the video and just comment what you think is your personal favorite descriptor of the meaning of life. However, I would recommend that you also examine yourself emotionally while you think about and answer this question. Are you sad? Happy? Maybe mad or irritated? These kinds of emotions are normal. And it's okay to have these feelings, but I found that it is easiest to answer this question with an emotionless, purely analytical mindset. So although these feelings are there, don't let those feelings cloud your logic as you deduce the best answer for you to the question, what is the meaning of life? Now for me, in the meanings of life that I'm about to show you, I deduced them by organizing them in my mind from looking at the perspective of each tier of the hierarchy of sciences. So what I did is I asked what is the meaning of life from the perspective of philosophy, from mathematics, from physics, from chemistry, from biology, from psychology, from sociology, and from astronomy. And in addition to those 8 of the hierarchy of sciences, I also asked what is the meaning of life from an artistic perspective. From a philosophical perspective, the meaning of life is to learn and be curious while seeking truth. I have come to discover that this is ultimately my personal favorite meaning of life. I put myself into a giddy every time I am presented with superior knowledge or logic to debunk the ideas that I already held. I say use logic to deduce the truths of the reality around you, and those deductions may end up surprising you in the long run. From a mathematical viewpoint, the meaning of life is 0 to the 0th power. Now, the reason I say it's 0 to the 0th power is because this indeterminate equation is in a superposition of states between 0 and 1. Now, if you were to say that your life is meaningless, you would be correct in saying that, because the meaning of life is 0. But if you were to see that your life is meaningless, but you want to give it meaning anyway, you would be correct in doing that also, because the meaning of life is also 1, as life has meaning to exist as opposed to not existing. Now, the way I look at it, your existence will be 0 for 99.999999% of the universe's existence. But right now, as you are watching this, your existence is a 1. It's in the 1 position. And it's a special time for you to exist. There will be plenty of time for you to not exist. So don't go around being gloomy that the 1 existence that you do have right now will ultimately, in the long run, become meaningless. From a physics viewpoint, the meaning of life is entropy and dissipation. Ultimately, we human life forms are creatures of entropy, and we have evolved to use the excess solar energy that is maintained within a robust and habitable atmosphere. So in the grandest of grand scheme of things, entropy tends to increase. Although that is true for open systems, the Earth is a closed system, and it is getting extra energy from the sun regularly. So whenever there's an imbalance of extra energy, life arose from the extra energy that the sun was able to put into a closed system. And that's kind of what we do. We are taking the extra energy of the sun and dispersing it back into the universe. Kids, especially, those little entropy-making machines, make messes wherever they go, turning order into disorder. And it is very lively of them to do so. From a chemistry standpoint, the meaning of life is equilibrium and homeostasis. For equilibrium, a better, more common word would be balance. Don't have too much negativity or too much positivity in your life. And don't seek out too much pain, and don't seek out too much pleasure. Learn moderation in your life, and your life will be balanced. And I would argue that that would give your life more meaning. And for homeostasis, I would say a better phrase to use instead of homeostasis would be to seek out peace and serenity. Be cool, bruh. Chill out. Don't put yourself through too much anxiety. Just deal with the shiz life throws at you as it comes. But also prepare for those shiz times in life so that you will have peace knowing that you are prepared for the shiz when it comes. From a biological perspective, the meaning of life is the successful reproduction of cells and or traits. Biology seems to say, leave your mark. Get yourself into as far into the future as you can possibly get. If you have a fairly rough life, just try to survive. But seek to thrive and to succeed whenever you can. You don't want to just reproduce offspring, ideas, or a legacy. You want those reproductions to be successful. From a psychological perspective, the meaning of life is the subjectivity of and the adaptation to pain and pleasure, including food and other consumables. Everything is subjective, very much including the meaning of life. Define it yourself. Give your own life meaning. Don't let anyone else define it for you. And although you can take inspirations from others, which I hope you do here, I'm not going to hand you a golden tablet that says, "This is the meaning of life. Take it." And on that note, if you like this video so far, please do me a giddy and click on those like and subscribe buttons and share this video to other people who want to know the big meaning of life or whatever. Okay? Thanks. Now, back to the psychological viewpoint. When you are experiencing pain and pleasure, you have to, let's see, how do I put this? If you are in a very painful situation, it is possible for your mind to cope by breaking into multiple personalities as a means of being able to find pleasure in spite of the severe pain trauma that you experienced. And also, the other way, if you experience too much pleasure, you may find yourself actually loathing the pleasure. Like, if you are consuming a lot of ice cream, you may find yourself actually end up loathing ice cream long after that. Life is resilient and will adapt to the environment that it is in. Existence is pain! But life's pleasures are existence's antidote. From a sociological perspective, the meaning of life is to find and give love, compassion, and acceptance. And also, if you want to make references to cultural things that have already answered this question, the meaning of life is 42. To love was the first answer that I ever deduced back whenever I was a teenager. So it still holds a special place for me on this list. But as I have learned since then, love is also subjective. So whatever some entity thinks is a loving action towards them may not be the same as what another entity would perceive as love. So if you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, you might end up doing more harm than good. What you should be doing is you should do unto others as they would want you to do unto them, if that makes sense. So if you empathetically listen to others that are around you and you seek to give them love, eventually they will also reciprocate most times. And in that way, you will find a social environment of acceptance. But by no means, if there is an individual out there who is kind of a black hole of life energy and will only receive, those people aren't really worthy of your time to find meaning in your life. So don't waste your time on those kinds of people. Not every entity is a black hole of sorts. There are plenty of stars out there, and you should seek to be a star yourself. And the meaning of life being 42 is a cultural reference from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The meaning of life is also a video that was created by the Monty Python comedy crew, and it is also a pretty decent song made by the rock band The Offspring. There are many books and videos with the title, now including this one, but if you learn your culture's previous answers to the question, what is the meaning of life, they become a great go-to answer to answering the question. Even though the original computer in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was initially off by 41 or 42 numerical units. From an astronomical viewpoint, the meaning of life is expansion, or a tendency for growth, and also an inevitable death. The amount of space the universe tends to occupy over time tends to increase. We should likewise seek to grow as individuals as time goes on. And even when you're a child, you should want to grow and become the best fully formed and functional adult that you can possibly be. But at some point, even the fully formed and functioning adult will eventually die. The individuals who choose to grow may be growing as a conscious entity continually until the day they die, but like the mathematical zero, eventually all of that growth the individual experienced while they were existing will become for nothing. Because death is universally applicable to life, making death a key defining feature of something that is alive. It is something that is alive, something that is exhibiting life, will eventually die. And from the less than scientific artistic perspective, the meaning of life is the experience thereof, and also the ability to produce. It is also to seek out beauty and to react to that which is scary. This is for those who would say, live and let live, or hey man, you just gotta experience it yourself. Also, people can find meaning in their life from their work, or from any creative or productive means. So don't lose your ability to produce. Don't just grow in mind, grow in action. And beauty, like love and the meaning of life, is subjective and lies in the eye of the beholder. I felt that adding this seeking out of beauty to necessarily counteract the cold, harsh conclusions of seeking out truth, the cold, hard truth of reality, can sometimes bring. Seeking out truth is kind of the middle. Seeking out beauty is the positive side of life. And reacting to that which is scary is the negative side of the meaning of life. Because let's face it, life is beautiful, and it can also be scary, repulsive too. And we should learn to react appropriately to it whenever we are faced with an aspect of life that is scary. So whether you decide to fight, flight, freeze, faint, fuck, or figure after that which fearfully grabs your attention is completely up to you. And lastly, from a literal viewpoint, the meaning of life is the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Which is nice and all, but I pretty much covered all of that with my 22 definitions. So in conclusion, and in rapid fire and understandable succession, the meaning of life is to seek truth. It is zero. It is one. The meaning of life is to dissipate, to balance, to seek peace, to succeed and thrive, to reproduce. The meaning of life is subjective, and it is adaptable. The meaning of life is to experience pain and to experience pleasure. To give and seek love, to seek acceptance. 42. To grow. The meaning of life is that it will experience death, but at the same time, it is experiencing life itself in the meantime. The meaning of life is to be productive, to seek beauty, to react to what is scary, and it is also a literal definition. Now, looking at this list, I am fairly confident that whatever answer you give me, if it is not already on this list, it can be derived from some combination of these 23 things. For example, if we were to say family is the meaning of life, we could say that, look at it, reproduction, love, acceptance, and growth. Those all encompass family as an idea. Or you could say drugs are the meaning of life. And you could say dissipation, pain, pleasure, death, probably scary too, are all were definitions that can encompass drugs. Or you could say something like Shrek is love, Shrek is life. And you would say Shrek is one, Shrek is love, Shrek is life. You have to come to accept it, and you have to embrace all of his beauty or whatever. So what I'm really looking for from you guys is to try to give me something that it'll almost definitely encompass some of these ideas, but I'm looking for anything that could be, okay, this thing has some of these qualities, but it also has this other quality that I didn't put on this list. So if I am able to deduce another one of those kinds of things, I will leave that in a comment in the comment section below. Well, thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the philosophical purpose to our existence. Hopefully it didn't blow your mind too hard. And if I did, you can just take what I'm about to say to heart, because how I end my videos will specifically be for you whose mind was blown too hard. Until next time, kumbaya, mother duckers. Chill out.